So this video post is about, you know, is it technology or is it process that I need to pay attention to when I am designing a, system, supply chain system, any system for that matter? Which one should I start with? Should I, start with technology or should I start with processes, right? It's always process. It's always process. It's very similar to, product development, right? I mean, when you're developing product, it's different from solution deployment, right? And the difference is product development is developing capabilities to ensure these capabilities are available in the tool set, whereas solution deployment is understanding the problem, understanding that specific scenario that the specific operators or customers are having challenges with, and then providing a solution for that scenario, right? So that's exactly how the technology and process determination work in terms of assigning priority. So it's very important to design a process that addresses that specific challenge that the team is trying to solve. Whereas while designing the process, it's also important to understand the technology options that are available. Hey, if I use this, I can do this. If I use this, I can do this. So maybe I can deploy this here. And again, it's important to look at the historically how the technology is delivered in that specific area of operation, right? So for example, voice speaking is a great tool. I mean, voice enable systems is a great tool, but it wouldn't work for all scenarios. So typically voice speaking works well for picking, and again, right, again, it's small SKUs and apparel or small parts, where it makes more sense for people to use voice. And if you try to deploy voice in a receiving or a put away situation, it would not work, because in picking it makes a lot of sense, because the users are hands free and eyes free, so they're going to take instructions through the voice system, and they're going to go to the next location, pick it, go to the next location, pick it, go to the next location, pick it, and keep going. So they can take instructions, whereas that's a pretty consistent process that they are performing from one location to the next one location from there to the next one, right? So that's why it's important to understand technology and processes, and it's anytime one of the first things that any SVP of supply chain would do is that designing a end-to-end desired process flow. Hey, this is the process flow that we want. Even before engaging a WMS vendor at that point, it's clearly ironing out the requirements and saying, hey, this is what we want to accomplish, and this is our problem, and this is how the solution needs to look like, and then let's look at all the systems that would that would help us get here at the lowest cost possible, right? That's how it typically works. Similarly, the QR robots, I mean, which Amazon eventually bought, and now it's called Amazon Robotics. I mean, that's a great technology, right? Basically, what someone, I mean, it's an epiphany for the person whoever came up with that idea. Typically people, the pickers, walk in the warehouses in the bin location and then pick product from one location to another location, one location to another location. So they go on. Whereas someone thought, hey, instead of me going to the location and then picking product, what if I can make the location come to me, right? Bin location come to me. So that's how the whole idea started, and that makes a lot of sense for areas where the real estate is very expensive. Middle of the city of New York, if I want to have a DC for compelling reason, then I gotta have a DC, and there real estate is obviously very, very expensive. So I gotta keep it as compact as possible. So if I can put all these SKUs products in a bin location that I can very compactly store and then retrieve it whenever I need it, based on my pick, based on my orders, that would be awesome, right? And that's exactly what this QR robots or Amazon Robotics enables people to do. And again, that's not a across-the-board solution that you wouldn't deploy it in a rural Pennsylvania area where you're running your DC and your operator costs are so low and the real estate cost is so low, right? So that's another example. Again, we actually deploy tablets for operators and supervisors, and we found a situation where there were multiple supervisors that were manning this big sorter. And there they thought, hey, it made a lot of sense to deploy these tablets, because whenever people need help, they can send a text message and then get help, because we had both wearables and tablets, and we can communicate with each other through the wearables and tablets. So that was a great solution for them. Again, that worked for that group of operators, right? I mean, they were millennials, young people, they can text and it's not a big deal, and they were the millennial generation that grew up with this touchscreen technology. So that made sense as well. So like this, you really need to understand the dynamics of the operators, the demography of the operators, and then deploy the solution, right? Just not technology, blindly implementing technology is not going to work. And again, it's important to understand the culture of the organization as well. I would quote one more example where we had this, two types of leaders. I mean, there was a first shift and there was a second shift. In the first shift, there was an older gentleman, very experienced warehouse manager, would follow all these operators in a golf cart, electric golf cart, and he would observe them, right? And he would coach them. He would give them feedback. Hey, this is how you need to do. You're doing it wrong. So let me, give you another training session, and then coach them. And he was improving productivity for those people and also making sure the engineering labor standards were met, right? Whereas the second shift, and this person was doing this full time in the first shift, and a lot of wisdom and a lot of experience. In the second shift, there was a millennial manager. What he said, hey, go and do your job, take this device, record yourself in a video, and during the break, come and talk to me and I'll show you, I'll give you feedback, I'll critique your work. And that was very different. And meanwhile, right, instead of this guy, the second shift supervisor, following up with the operator full time, he went and did his other job. So he was able to multitask, and he was able to get a lot more work done in his situation, right? It worked really well for him. So that's the point, right? So it's not something that you can apply across the board in all places. You have to be careful. So define the processes, and then while defining the process, understand the technology capabilities. Also look at historically how the technology has performed in that area, right? That's very important. So then go about designing your processes, understanding all the technology capabilities available, and then define or design your process focusing on that specific challenge you're solving. It could be, hey, higher throughput, or it could be reduce my labor cost, or improve my productivity, or much more specific, I got to make sure these orders get shipped pretty fast during this time of the year, or something like that, right? So take that specific challenge and address that challenge by designing an efficient processes, and then put in the technology. So it's not technology, it's always process, but in conjunction with the process, understand the technology capabilities available, and then go about doing that. So thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Please let us know if you have any questions. We'll be happy to answer anything. Thank you.